Hey guys, it's been a long time since I've done an update, but the car is at a stage where I can say I suppose it's done. It's not entirely finished, but it's done. So this is the engine where it sits at the moment. So this is the 2.1. It's got the HKS cams. Got some head porting done. They did a really good job on that. Upgraded the actuator to a turbo smart one on the big 16G. Not a lot else has changed from that perspective. Yeah, I've got the 2.5 dipstick and pickup and whatnot because I got all the KillerB parts put in the sump. So you've got the equal length headers. Really enjoying the sound of those. It's different, but sounds like a race car. So the power went up from 175 kilowatts at the wheels and 320 newton meters up to 218 kilowatts and 400 newton meters. So it's got a really big gain. I was hoping to hit about 300 horsepower, didn't quite get there, but that's okay. It pulls really well for the street. I took it to racing a few weeks ago. Didn't do as well as I thought, but a lot of the cars there have big power, 6-cylinder, twin turbo, or big singles, so they leave you behind. Managed to beat a fairly stock STI pretty comfortably. So I got the bonnet scoop repainted. Oh, I got a new one actually, and got it repainted because my old one had all that bubbling on it. I'm not sure if I ever showed that in a previous video. I feel like I did. And then I'm certain I mentioned a big dirty scratch on the rear quarter. Sorry it's so dark. The light's out at the back here. There's a big scratch all the way along there. There's actually still a bit of a you can't see it. But anyway, I got the whole rear quarter painted and all the way up here. But then disaster struck. So that was 2 weeks after the new motor went in. Picked up the car. 2 or 3 minutes later, the original gearbox decided to let go. I originally thought that it was my bottom end. So I was freaking out because the motor cost me a lot of money, and I thought, here we go. The painters have had a good thrashing in it cold. But it just turns out that the original gearbox let go. It was one of the 752 series, so the really old ones from '98. So now it's got a 2004 Australian WRX 444 5-speed in there. It's got the same ratios as the version 5, version 6 STI. It's got a lot of gearbox lash, so I'm not happy with it. It makes a lot of noise when you're off throttle. A lot of I guess it's like a whirring, grinding sound where the gear teeth are mesh, but they're chattering around. I'm also getting a bit of oil residue coming through on the intake temperature sensor, so I'm pretty certain I'm getting a lot of blow-by. So I am going to get this battery relocated to the boot and then get a nice custom catch can with 4 ports put in there, because it turns out the version 8 EJ257 block has 2 crankcase breathers, which unfortunately means I have lost my blow-off valve return. So this is no longer fully recirculating and is fully Atmo and is super loud. When I first picked up the car, it was just off at the where it comes off the blow-off valve. So it sounded like there was some kind of eagle in my engine bay, but I've since put maybe a foot and a half of the old piping, and it just runs down towards the ground. So it's lost that really high-pitched chirp that I was doing, but it's still very loud. It's first and second, even when you just take it up to 4 grand, and it's very loud. And the low-speed tune is probably the only thing that really needs fixing up, because there's a few bits where it's running lean. You can really feel it. When I first got it back, there was a big lean spot as you were approaching a corner, and it would really jump around and buck. So that's been tidied up a little bit, but there's still a little bit there, about 2,500 RPM. And I think I fixed the issue of the boost cut I was getting. It was hitting, the map sensor was hitting 235 kPa, and the soft cut is 10 kPa lower than the limit, which is 245. So in terms of boost pressure, it's about 20 pound, maybe 19 pound. So I've upped that to 24, so I shouldn't get anywhere near that. So yeah. So in terms of where I plan to take this motor in the future, the thing holding me back now is injectors. These are only 500 cc's, and the turbo. The turbo is what's really holding me back, because prior to this, my 175 kilowatt tune was on 18 psi, and then when this got run in and it was hitting 16 and a half, it was making 214. So it made an extra 45 kilowatts on 2 psi less boost. So the engine is a lot more efficient, but now that it's gone back after the whole gearbox issue and got the final tune, and the turbo it's out of puff, it can't do any more, and that's at 18 and a half pound, tapering down to 17 and a half. So obviously I need to do a 6-speed in the future, because I'm at the limit of what it can take. 400 Newton meters is kind of, I think it's already pushing my luck. If I'm not careful, I will blow this box as well. So I want to run E85, or at least flex fuel in the future. So instead of maybe ID 1050Xs and a top feed conversion using radium fuel rails is probably the best way to go for fueling. Get a parallel fuel setup and a fuel regulator, and then swap out this big 16G for probably one of the Garrett ball bearing based ones, that maybe a GTX 30 wheel, something like a Blausch Dom 1.5, probably with a 7cm housing, maybe 8. But I'm also tempted by the Mamba turbos, because they're $1,000 cheaper and they come with pretty similar specs. I haven't made my mind up on that, but that's down the track. I want to do a 6-speed first, because there's no point putting a turbo injectors, upping the power by 50 or 60 kilowatts, and then stripping a gear the moment I leave the place. So yeah, that's what's on the cards. But of course I'll do the battery relocation and breather hoses running over to my catch can first, because I don't want all this oil build up in my intercooler, because already on startup there's a fair bit of smoke, and I just want to get rid of that. Sort out the low speed tuning, maybe just drive the car for another year, and then think about doing power upgrades and a 6-speed, because then to me the car will be finished once it's got, I don't know, 350 wheel horsepower or something. That's when it'll be finished. There's no point going anymore. It's already too fast for the street, and it's only a baby in terms of power. So yeah, watch this space.